Internet explodes. Trump makes it official. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then you've been living under a rock, or you've been living life, or you've been listening to the wrong news and you haven't been following anything I've been talking about over the last major part of my career. And you missed my broadcast yesterday on Lisa Haven's channel because Trump just made it official. He put out the post on exactly what we talked about yesterday, and Obama is now... I wouldn't be sleeping really well anymore because Tulsi Gabbard puts out a huge report yesterday. And, it may have fallen by the wayside, just gone silently, swept under the carpet. A lot of people thinking it was going to be swept under the carpet until Trump makes it official. And that's the story I'm going to bring you here in 1 minute.
About the consequences of President Obama and his senior cabinet members politicizing intelligence once again, and I say these words very clearly, to enact what was essentially a years-long coup, subverting the will of the American people in that election in November. Now,
subverting the will of the American people, those are big words. Big words by Tulsi Gabbard. Because what happened is once Trump won, something changed. Because what we've come to find out now, and you're going to see a lot of fancy markings on the next slide from me, a lot of fancy markings on this new unclassified document that I covered yesterday on Lisa's channel. If you're at restricted, you've seen all the videos, so it's easy for you. No commercials, no interruptions. You just get to watch everything we do. But if you missed it, I'll put a link above. If you're restricted, go to the prior video. Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. Intelligence community suppression of intelligence showing Russian and criminal actors did not impact the 2016 presidential via cyber attacks on infrastructure. So the intelligence community, as they do before every election, are watching out for people interfering. And they go out on August 31st of 2016. Clapper says there was no indication. A DHS official tells Clapper there is no indication of a criminal Russian threat to directly manipulate the actual vote. There's nothing here. We're working with the CIA. We see no threat. The FBI sees no threat. And we're not comfortable saying that there's any information that Russia intends to do anything. It goes down. ODNI. Russia is not really doing anything. We don't see any threat whatsoever. Not trying to manipulate anything at all. PDB comes out. We agree. Russia is not really doing anything, and it doesn't appear they intend to do anything. I know a lot of you are thinking, well, then why all the Russia stuff? You see, that's the problem, because there was no predication to any of it. But hold on. We judge that foreign adversaries do not have and probably will not obtain the capabilities to successfully execute any widespread, undetected cyber attack. That was in September 12th of 2016. October 7th. Leading up to the election. ODNI, DHS, suppressed the above September intelligence finding in their press release and state that they have confidence that the Russian government directed attacks, but none of your intelligence said that they directed anything. Where'd that come from? That's right, there's a meeting that's coming up. Because if you don't have the actual intelligence telling you anything that's happening, then where did the information come from that said something was happening? Well, normally, if you don't have actual info, you have to create info. And in there you have the problem, because now Tulsi Gabbard comes out and says, well, you did create the info. Donald Trump defeats Hillary Clinton and wins the 2016 U.S. presidential election. The IC is working on a new report about cyber attacks that we had no intelligence for. And now the story gets really juicy. And that's what we're going to cover here in a minute. Before I do, you see the problem that I guess a lot of these big platforms have is the fact that when you're on the mark for so long, for so many years, and you've covered this, what appears and sounds like years and years ago, and all you're doing is recapping what you covered years and years ago, they don't like that very much, I guess. And so they make sure not a lot of people see your videos. So to counter that, I'd love you to make sure that you actually are subscribed. that your bell is checked to all so you hear about my videos and you're alerted to when I post new ones, and I continually do that, mind you. And if you're new here, I'd love you to subscribe. We broadcast here. We broadcast on Lisa Haven's channel. I'll put a link above. We broadcast on Restricted Republic, and your support over at those platforms really keep us moving forward. And then I am blessed to have sponsors. Blessed to have sponsors that not only just sponsor our videos, but also, give you something in return for a free phone call, even better, right? Sponsor here is Chapter. I was lucky to find them. They're Medicare professionals, and Medicare can be messy. It's confusing. And, we talk about waste, fraud, and abuse, and that system is the quintessential example of that. How many options do you have to go through just to make sure you have the right plan? Well, that's their job. That's what they do. And the beauty of this is my audience has already saved thousands. The average person who calls Chapter saves $1,100 a year by making one simple free phone call. 805-619-5011. 805-619-5011. Trust me to give you the news. Trust me to make one simple phone call. What's it hurt? Maybe you do have the best plan. Maybe you don't. With one phone call, what's it hurt? 805-619-5011. That's Chapter. You're going to talk to a person, not a bot. I wouldn't deal with anybody who does that. And let them go through all the plans for you. Let them present you the options, and you decide. It's that easy. Give Chapter a call today. But now let's get back to this broadcast. So where were we? I covered this on Lisa's channel yesterday. Americans will finally learn the truth about how the 2016 intelligence apparatus was politicized and weaponized. It's all about this report. Because they moved down because Clapper and Comey and Brennan decide that's not enough. The intelligence isn't telling us what we want to hear, so we got to start changing things. Activity on and since Election Day. We assess that foreign adversaries did not use cyber attacks on election infrastructure to alter anything. Well, that's inconvenient. But yet on December 8, 2016, IC officials discussed a draft of which finds Russian and criminal actors did not impact recent U.S. election results by conducting any activity. There it is, December 8th. But suddenly, a letter comes out from James Comey from the FBI and says, we're not going to sign that report that was about to prove to the American public that Russia they didn't attack. Comey says, we're not going to sign that. Please remove our seal and annotation of co-authorship. Later in the afternoon, a senior PDP official comes out and says, you know what? Based on new guidance, we're also not going to sign that document that says, by all the intelligence apparatus, that nothing happened that had any impact whatsoever. And a meeting's called. A meeting of Susan Rice, James Clapper, Andrew McCabe, John Brennan, Loretta Lynch, Mary McCord. Oh, I can keep going here. John Kerry, Victoria Nuland. Oh, this involves now Obama's cabinet. Biden allegedly in attendance too. POTUS has asked us to have a meeting on Russia election meddling, although there is no intelligence on this. But we need to have an immediate meeting. And in this meeting, pursuant to the POTUS asking us on Monday's meeting on a Russian election meddling for a comprehensive assessment, although we already have the assessment saying nothing happened, we need an assessment per the president's request. Hope you see that. It's right here. Per the president's request. That we got to pull together all the tools we have on Moscow and use in the actions took that influenced the 2016 election. And the ODNI will lead the effort with the participation from the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, and the DHS, who've already told us that there's no intelligence that they've done anything. Don't worry, this is only 11 pages long. We're on page 7. The unclassified version will follow the classified delivery. The unclassified version will follow the classified delivery of the report we didn't want to put out. But this one will follow the same protocol, except this one we're going to choose to put out. And here's what we would like the assessment to read now. How did Moscow seek to influence the U.S. presidential election in 2016? What tools did they use? Although we've already proven that they didn't use any of these tools, but we have to reassess. Did they hack? How did they leak? What cyber activity did they use? Although we already proved that they didn't use it. What media spin, trolls, fake news, domestic Russian intelligence? Why did Moscow use these activities? How has Moscow approach to our elections changed over time? What is our assessment regarding how Moscow will leverage its capabilities in future U.S. elections? Get the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, get them all involved. Although they all already said that Moscow did none of this. So in other words, please rewrite the assessment for me stating otherwise. The same day, deep state officials in the IC began leaking blatantly false intelligence to the Washington Post. Though Russia has long conducted cyber spying on U.S. agencies, companies, and organizations, this presidential campaign marks the first time Russia has attempted, through cyber means, to interfere in, if not actively influence, the outcome of an election. Although the report we didn't post has proven that they didn't. Later that evening, the Washington Post falsely alleges that the CIA concluded in a secret assessment that Russia intervened in the 2016 election to help Donald Trump win the presidency rather than to undermine confidence in the U.S. electoral system, although their intelligence told you that they did not intervene. You see the problem here? IC officials, again, leaked to the media this time, claims that the IC officials believe with a high level of confidence that Russian President Vladimir Putin himself was involved in the U.S. election hack. So much so that President Obama had to go talk to him with no intelligence pointing to that whatsoever. So why would they do that? Trump's elected to start investigations to subvert his entire administration and to keep him embattled in court cases at Russia for 4 years so that it would hobble his entire administration, which would subvert the will of the people. That's freaking dastardly, isn't it? That's freaking wrong. And that is what the whole blow-up is about right now, because the documents show it to you in great detail. Whistleblowers coming out stating that they knew, obviously, the Steele dossier was untrue, and when they stated everything, they said, shh, shut up. And if you came to them and said, hey, this information, where'd this come from? You need to trust me on this. And you are not allowed to see where the information come from. You just need to trust me on where it came from. Here you go, take it. Make sure it's in that report. Just trust me. This is disturbing. And so what did Tulsi Gabbard do? She put it all out. She did a great job on her X post. Cover all these for you yesterday. She summated it for the American public, and yep, it could have just fallen on deaf ears. Fox News covered it. Obama administration manufactured intelligence to create 2016 Russian election interference narrative, documents show. Paul Sperry came out, developing sources tell me Obama's fingerprints are all over Brennan's post-2016 election intelligence community assessment. Putin-Trump frame-up scandal, which leads directly back to the White House. Susan Rice, Lisa Monaco, all the whole cast of characters. But there's one man we didn't hear much from. We heard from, right here, Harrison Fields, Deputy Press Secretary, by the way. Listen to him for one moment.
Obama's hands are on this. And what is he doing now? He's over here with his wife doing a podcast, walking without flip-flops on the beach, acting like his whole career was everything and a bag of chips. It wasn't. It was the most corrupt presidency we've ever seen. We thought Joe Biden was bad. Now we know who was behind it all. It was Barack Hussein Obama. And we need answers.
That's big, right? White House Principal Deputy Press Secretary stating that. Speaks on behalf of the president, but again, they could go off script sometimes. Nothing's official until President Trump says it. It's all just sound bites and talking points, right? Remember, Harrison Fields. So, Justice, what set the internet on fire? This did. First time he directly references it. Tulsi Gabbard makes the announcement. Here's the unclassified information. Here's the scandal. Here's how they fabricated the information. Here's how they started this Russia, which we've known, but now it's official. Now it's out there. She calls for a special counsel investigation. She calls for it. As a matter of fact, before I get here, sorry about that. This is critically important. Critically important. Let me go down to this. These documents detail a treasonous conspiracy by officials at the highest level of the Obama White House to subvert the will of the American people. This betrayal concerns every American. The integrity of our domestic republic demands that every person involved be investigated and brought to justice. I am providing all documents to the Department of Justice to deliver the accountability that President Trump, his family, and the American people deserve. Okay, so it's at the DOJ. But now the DOJ, will they do anything? Well, they will if Trump tells them to. But Trump had been silent, not saying anything, taking a few shots here and there. All of a sudden, we got the press secretary coming out, pushing a little push. But again, nothing from Trump making it official until now. Great job by young and talented Harrison Fields on Fox News, the interview I just showed you. This is what we do here. We keep things very black and white. We corridor it in. The panel was fantastic on prosecuting Obama and the thugs who have just been unequivocally exposed on the highest level election fraud. Congratulations to Tulsi Gabbard. Keep it coming. The panel was fantastic. This is a president, sitting president of the United States of America, speaking on an ex-president of the United States of America being prosecuted. Folks, that's a serious accusation. And the internet goes crazy. Rightfully so. Because now, that's official. That's the president confirming he supports. The panel was fantastic on prosecuting Obama and the thugs who have just been unequivocally exposed on highest level election fraud. Keep it coming. And so what do you think Pam Bondi's going to do now? I told you they wouldn't let it go. This is part of the big master case that they've been working on, and why I told you Pam Bondi would go nowhere. Kash Patel would go nowhere. And Tulsi Gabbard was wrapped up into this, and Radcliffe tripped it into gear. And there's more to follow because there's still 2 files. Some would argue this was one of them that needed to be declassified. It's not. This was a third, but this was a minor. There's 2 more that need to be declassified, and you will see these locks that are starting to be unlocked. And man, we are just at the tip of the iceberg. I honestly didn't think you go for Obama first and his administration, but he's wiping out these deep players who are going to stop for the big one he's going for. And I want you to put in the comments as to who you think that is. Oh, I can't wait to read it. Ooh, it's getting fun now. I love you all. Until next time, Godspeed and God bless. Justice Night. Signing out.